Let's go to Jonathan from Washington. Welcome to the Kevin Trudeau Show.
Hey, Kevin. It's finally nice to be able to speak with you. So.
Oh, good.
I discovered your book, Natural Cures, back in 2005 when I was really, really depressed, severely depressed, actually. My wife saw your infomercial, and she got the book, and she said, you should try this stuff. So I tried everything, and nothing really worked for the depression, but my health improved from, the other things that you recommended. But just last year in July, I was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism, and I was diagnosed with bipolar depression. My doctors tell me to take lithium, and of course lithium was very bad for my health, as you can imagine. So my kidneys were about to fail, so I stopped the lithium before that, and I got on a remedy for hyperthyroid, and 6 months later I'm cured. It's just a homeopathic remedy, and the hyperthyroid's gone. The blood tests say that it's gone. And I've been taking a homeopathic remedy for bipolar for the last 5 months, and now all my symptoms are gone. That's tremendous because I'm a completely different person now. I used to be irritable all the time, depressed all the time. I just really couldn't function normally in society. As you can imagine, antisocial, things like that. So I just wanted to thank you personally because you're the man who's responsible for not only the things in my life that have improved my health because of the knowledge that you gave me in your books, the Weight Loss Cure, Natural Cures, Mega Memory, but also the improvement of the health of my wife and my children. We have a family of 5. I started the Simeon's Phase 2 that you have in your book, and I lost 45 pounds in 45 days, Kevin.
Well done.
And I'm, about to start my 3 weeks of maintenance, and I can't tell you how much an improvement that is. I have not been this weight in over 2 years. I plan on doing the HCG again eventually, but 45 pounds. That's a pound a day, isn't it?
It's a pound a day, and it really is amazing. We hear this all the time. It works if people do the program and follow it exactly as it's outlined. It absolutely works 100%. I'm glad you called because, we had Dr. Teresa Dale on this show, and she uses homeopathic remedies, which are basically just energy frequencies, invented by Dr. Samuel Hahnemann in Germany hundreds of years ago. These homeopathic remedies absolutely work at getting the body to go back to balance. And when the body goes back to balance, the hormone levels get balanced. And when the hormone levels get balanced, all the chemicals in the brain get balanced. And in many cases, people who have severe depression, mood swings, irritability, quote, bipolar, or all these things, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, the people who have these, quote, disorders are really feeling bad. They have real issues. But nobody is addressing the cause. And homeopathics gets the body energetically back in balance, and then all these chemicals get back in balance. And as you experience firsthand, it's virtually miraculous. And it's something that the standard drug therapy and surgical procedures and electroshock therapy and all these horrible things don't do. They don't get the results.
That's right. To tell you personally, Kevin, before we get off here, because I know the show's almost done, but I was seeing my psychiatrist. She was the one who showed me the blood test, said you got a hyperthyroid, there's no cure, you got to get on, this replacement hormone therapy, and you've got to radiate your thyroid. I said, yeah, right. I got the homeopathic remedy. 6 months later, I showed her the blood test. She goes, wow. And then she never talked about it again because she didn't want to.
No, she can't because that's not her business. She would lose her medical license.
Right. And not only that, but the bipolar. She saw me just a couple months ago and said, I can't do anything for you, Jonathan.
Yep.
You're doing so well. You're so different than you were. And she knows it's homeopathy, but she's not going to write that down in her notes.
I can tell you this. Bobby Trudeau has consistently been the most ungrateful, bitter brother. And Bobby's entire success has been and was due to Kevin. And yet no matter how much Kevin gave, did, or whatever, Bobby was ungrateful. What his motivation is now, I don't know. Making a joke of Jim and his Kevin's brother, which tells you, does he listen? Does he anything? So at this point, just, if there's a reason that you developed a relationship, you want to be his friend, fine. listening to anything he says with any weight of truth? No. Could he be using half-truths? Absolutely. For crying out loud, is his brother, Kevin. I mean, the only time I see Kevin reverting into a typical sibling rivalry situation is when he's talking to his brother. I mean, then he turns into, a brother. He's no longer Kevin Trudeau. I mean, it's, they're still brothers. It's absolutely the most humorous thing I've ever seen. A billionaire turning into a brother. Almost out of control with frustration. But, no, Bobby, you can't rely on anything that Bobby says. And as far as, the whole thing with the secret societies, his original mentors, look, Kevin had some very key mentors. As I say, I was probably his first real mentor. Called me every day, sometimes 2 and 3 times a day. Called me before he went to Chicago to go, for the memory thing. Should I, shouldn't I, etc. I mean, years of this. And then the calls got further and further between because he had the knowledge. And he only calls me when it really is something like in water or something where it's really kind of a far out there. Well, Fred will probably know that one because he knows more than I know on almost everything. So I'm just saying Kevin's a real deal. But what he has done is he's condensed a number of his mentors into, what's the term he uses, his uncle. Now, do you understand the necessity? Rather than each time saying, well, Fred Denley, and this and that. And then you have people saying, well, geez, Kevin's a billionaire. How come Fred is not a billionaire? And, to alleviate all of that, he lumped all of his mentors into uncle. Now, do you understand?
Yes. Yeah, it makes sense. Because my only concern was and I'm so glad you called, and I didn't want to take up too much of your time, so.
Confuse people. And losers, and I will call Bobby a loser, he was. It appeared he had finally started to get his act together when he did the HCG diet. He lost some weight. It looked like he was starting to get his confidence back, or getting his confidence, never had me. And then I thought, geez, he's almost become likable, because I've always tried. And then he took the dive. And I even called and just made some communication. And it appeared he appreciated it, but I don't know where he's gone. I mean, no stability there. But I do know Kevin has stability, and I do know Kevin's consistent desire is for clarity for people. Everything he does is simplify. And there's a reason I listened to the first CD and Your Wish Is Your Command 10 times before I went on to the second CD. I allowed him out every word that comes out of Kevin's mouth for years. I taught him most of it. And then all of a sudden he brings out these CDs with a voice inflection. Everything has changed. And I'm going, whoa. And I wanted to know. I wanted to know, what is he doing here? And I would go sleep with all those CDs on my computer, an endless loop cassette, endless loop type thing. You can see I'm dated with cassettes. And, upstairs so it wouldn't keep my wife awake. Just trying to, absorb as much as I could with my crazy schedule. I'm just saying that's how profound what Kevin has done and is doing. And I happen to be here with Joel Bauer, and Kevin happens to be sitting there amongst 50 people. And his words to Joel, don't do anything special, and he meant it. I would like to just enjoy these 50 people and let them be real around me and me be real. And it's hard when you have someone of that success. And there's some very successful, powerful people in the room, but there's no question Kevin is the top dog. And yet with all the humility and sensitivity and brilliance that Kevin always brings to the table, you go with those who have something to offer you. And I will tell you, Kevin Trudeau has everything to offer you if you wish to partake. He forces nothing on anybody, not for me. He doesn't say, Fred, you really got to do this. He doesn't ever do that. He frustrates me. He says, Fred, you might want to take a look at this. He really knows that this is going to be hot. But no, he does that, and I have to remember, well, that means I should do it. Because otherwise I just go, well, yeah, I'll get to it.
I really appreciate this, because Kevin has changed my life in so many ways, and that was why I was confused, because I mean, my life has been revolutionized by this man. So, and like you said, Kevin's healthy, he's happy, he's got his head on his shoulders. So
I mean, I'm serious. He gave me a new wife. My wife listened to this stuff from Jim. She worked for him, for crying out loud. Of course, I introduced them originally years ago. She was married to a chiropractor. And but she started listening to all the gin stuff. And a year later, I have a non-reactive, very responsive, contributing contributing wife completely and marvelously advanced from what I had, which was wonderful, but let's say reactive and difficult at times when I dealt with business stuff. Now that is cool, and that's entirely because of Kevin. There's Joe Bauer questioned that too. You know, Kevin was very direct with him. He said, look, it was recorded in the Alps, but some of the days were so badly, recorded with the, audience, etc., that it wasn't something, it's embarrassing to put out low-quality recordings. So he re-recorded parts of it. Yeah, but Kevin can do that. I mean, he can remember verbatim without notes.
Yeah, there's absolutely nothing wrong with fixing some small parts of it.
Exactly. I wouldn't care with what's on there. I wouldn't care if he recorded it in his closet. I wouldn't, because of the impact. But he did record it originally. Those very CDs. I mean, don't make those up. I mean, and if you could, I still applaud him. Look what it has created, because it's all truth. No one's ever put all the pieces together and filled potholes in this old 60-year-old body of mine. My mind, he filled those potholes, and it has made such an incredible difference in this old dog. And for you guys at your age to be able to tap into this stuff is so marvelous. You can't argue with a Christian over their faith, and the reason is every Christian that's a real Christian has had an experience. And a man with an experience is never at the mercy of a man with a theory. And so never forget that. What you truly are experiencing is truth at that point. And those with theories, or those who wish to tear down the experience that is so profound and positive for you, a family member or a friend, is not a friend, and is not dealing in an experience.
You say, well, yesterday I really didn't have to listen to an audio, and I didn't feel bad about it. Why? Because I was listening to this music video on YouTube, or I was watching this movie, and it was just so immersed in the law of attraction, and I really got something out of that. And you realize, well, I wasn't thinking about that. I wasn't, just became automatic. And so the learning becomes automatic. And, oh, well, when was the last time I picked up a book and read it? Well, I do it every day. I just don't think about it. Even if it's a sentence, even if it's a page. See, you're at that unconscious competence level, and so it's no longer a chore. It's no longer discipline. You're just automatically doing it. You're not even having to think about it. A good analogy that Kevin gives is it's like driving from work to home and from home to work. You drive that for 21 days, I can promise you. Before you know it, you leave work and you're like, I'm home. And you don't remember how you got there, because you're unconsciously competent at doing the right thing.
True. I mean, and I think that once you get there, you have to remain there. You have to, of course.
But I'm saying you'll remain there because you're at unconscious competence. Your remaining there is now automatic. You may not understand the technique. You're just doing it. I mean, Robert, you and I have known each other for 3 years now, and you've seen me, from 10 months ago join Gin, and you've seen me go through this, as Kevin says, process of learning. See, do you notice how every time we talk, like as I'm talking now, this information's really a part of me?
Of course.
So, you see, I don't have to
consciously... You eat it, you breathe it, you sleep it.
Right. And so it's at the subconscious level. I don't have to wake up consciously and say, well, I better listen to an audio today. Because quite frankly, I probably watch, almost 1,000 times a day different video clips. I'll listen to Kevin, I'll listen to Dr. C, and I'm doing this without thinking about it because I love the information. It's a passion, it's a joy, and I'm just really not thinking about the techniques, because quite frankly, the how really becomes irrelevant after you pass through conscious competence. And so the conscious competence, I think, was probably the most painful process of the stages of learning, because I would try, I would fail, I would try, I would fail, and I just kept pushing through. It's like pushing water uphill. It's a very challenging process. And so once I hit unconscious competence, it was like a light clicked on.